Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Well, as the territory recovers from the 2 Category 5 hurricanes, operations in the territory can be seen. Although many residents have been evacuated from the territory, business and government departments as well as stronger telecommunications are functioning. Here's more from Stephanie Brown.
Signs of progress in the recovery of both Hurricane Irma and Maria in the territory are being seen. Yesterday at the Cyril E. King Airport on St. Thomas, an American Airlines 757 jet landed with over 170 passengers, and Delta Airlines also operated a flight through the Henry Rollston Airport.
And we expect JetBlue will join them tomorrow, and we believe that United Airlines will join them on Saturday, so that commercial flights are now active at the King Airport.
Reportedly, Cape Air is scheduled to begin flights between St. Croix and St. Thomas tomorrow. Today, flights through the Seabourn Seaplane began on a limited schedule, flying from St. Croix downtown to St. Thomas downtown. More residents and visitors were provided evacuation relief by Royal Caribbean Cruises, which docked at the Anne E. Abramson Marine Facility today. The ship traveled from Puerto Rico and will stop in St. Thomas to pick up further passengers from the St. Thomas and St. John districts. In all, 1,000 passengers are set to board the vessel with an end destination to Fort Lauderdale. According to information released at Governor Mapp's daily recovery press briefings, the elderly, high-risk pregnant women, and persons with urgent medical needs were prioritized on mercy missions. For those individuals that rely on medication that remain in the territory and need to keep their medications cool, especially diabetic individuals, the Department of Health has developed an action plan.
The Department of Health, through individuals we're seeing in our clinics, as well as those that call us who have a need to keep their medications cool, we are requesting generators for them.
In further recovery relief, customers of AT&T will soon be able to get better cell phone coverage as supplies are reportedly being shipped into the territory to fix damaged tower components.
Mr. York from AT&T advised me that the barge has left the mainland and is on its way into the Virgin Islands and St. Croix, which is bringing the equipment that is going to be able to fire up towers, generators, and he even made a request for some security support once the barge lands.
For News 2, I'm Stephanie Shalana Brown.
Now, if you need a generator to keep your medicines cool, especially insulin, you can contact Vitima at 340-773-2244. On St. Thomas, it's 774-2244, and St. John, it's 340-776-2244. Mercy missions to evacuate persons with disabilities and medical conditions, tourists and other individuals have been occurring, as we just reported. Today, Royal Caribbean Cruises provided one of their ships to transport individuals from the territory to Fort Lauderdale. Individuals were asked to register at several locations throughout the territory. One visitor shared her experience in the registration process to get out and back to her home.
Started off by coming for a wedding for 4 days, and it has been 28 days, and I am still in St. Croix. What is most astounding about it's like a series of unfortunate events. I went from being canceled on American twice because of impending storms on both of the day or the previous days of Maria and Irma. I had to be bumped off American flights, so I'm left here. This is my first opportunity really to get out of the island, so I have made every effort to do so. When the governor gave the number, I don't have cell phone access, I don't have Wi-Fi, I don't have any communication access. I went over, tried to get somebody's data to bump into my phone to be able to get a message to my niece to tell her to try to listen to the governor on a regular basis. When he gave that number, she registered me. It told me that I was registered. She gave my birth information, my passport number, and all my details. However, subsequent to that, The governor came on and said that there were stations, pods being opened up for persons to get on the Mercy cruise. I also took that opportunity and went to Cotton Valley. When I got to Cotton Valley, which is about 10 minutes from the residence I am currently housed at, I did not get in. The line or the cutoff point was 3 persons or 1 family before I could get before the cutoff point. Well, I should have been registered. So information on the radio reached me that this location is open for the Mercy fly this morning. I arrived here at 7 o'clock. I've been on the line since, and the persons here have been helpful, but again, you know, we were on the line for longer than I believe was necessary. The list that were there were not in alphabetical order, so everybody had to go to the entire list to see if your name was there. I'm talking about a list of something like 30 pages or more. I think that's a little inefficient. There are other inefficiencies that I've seen, but I mean, I'm thinking that I'm going through the process. There are so many resources, so many things that opportunities, but they're all wasted if the resources are not properly harnessed. The persons are lovely here. They're trying to get me on. They're doing their best, and I really believe, I have faith that I will get out today. But it has been quite a journey, and I hope that nobody has a story like mine. 27.
Well, Commissioner of Tourism Beverly Nicholson Doty said earlier that the Royal Caribbean had been gracious to extend additional capacity for members of the community to travel to Fort Lauderdale on the Adventure of the Seas, that Mercy voyage, leaving Ann Abramson Pier. All interested persons were encouraged to head to the pier by 3:15. The St. Croix Business Community, meanwhile, in other news, they're invited to a meeting with Governor Kenneth Mapp and members of his leadership team to discuss recovery efforts following the impact of the recent hurricanes. The meeting will be held at Government House on Saturday, September 30th at 1 p.m. The first commercial flight to arrive since the Cyril E. King Airport on St. Thomas reopened yesterday, American Airlines. They brought a 757 jet with 170 passengers to St. Thomas, and it will be full on its departure to Miami. Passengers in the waiting area gave a round of applause when that jet landed. American Airlines and Delta have 1 flight each to and from St. Thomas. Cape Air is also expected to resume flights between St. Thomas and St. Croix on Saturday. Travelers should contact the airlines directly for flight schedules. Well, today, WAPA Cruise and its contractors positioned a shipment of approximately 1,300 utility poles at strategic locations across St. Thomas. It began early this morning from about 7 a.m. and continuing for several days. The utility poles are part of an initial shipment of additional supplies needed to rebuild the transmission and distribution system. Convoys will be deployed from the cruise ship dock and haven site, destined for the West End, North Side, and East End areas. WAPA is requesting the cooperation of the motoring public during this undertaking. Now, a second shipment of another 2,500 poles and additional equipment is expected in the territory within 2 weeks.
There are 4 days of emergency water storage on St. John, and water service remains available throughout Cruz Bay. There's also 4 days of emergency water storage, or about 10.6 million gallons on St. Thomas. Storage is building slowly, and WAPA is finalizing repairs to the weatherhead at the Berg's Home pump station. Potable water service to the hospital ground area will be restored either Thursday night or Friday morning. Customers in Savannah, Altona, and at Content Knolls will have their service restored when more pump stations are re-energized. Over on St. Croix, storage at the Richmond tank has increased to a 4-day water supply, or about 8.5 million gallons. The Richmond, Contentment, and Concordia pump stations are all online. Water service continues to make its way slowly towards Frederickstead as the system becomes pressurized. Water maintenance workers are surveying and repairing leaks on a daily basis. Work continued on St. Croix Thursday to restore service to additional portions of downtown Christiansted and Frederickstead. It is anticipated that service will be restored to customers on Church and Company Streets in Christiansted by the weekend. Additional poles were planted on the path of Feeder 8B towards Frederickstead Town. On St. Thomas, restoration crews continued work on a portion of Feeder 6B as well as Feeder 6A. Crews planted and dressed additional poles along the feeder route up to UVI. Re-energizing a portion of Feeder 6A will allow for the restoration of service to the UVI campus, to the Port Authority's fire station, and to the FAA's control tower. Additional work was done Thursday in Sugar Estate and on Noragata, where WAPA hopes to energize the Superior Court, the VI Police Department, and the Bureau of Corrections by weekend. Work is also ongoing, planting new poles on the paths of Feeders 7A and 8A. The authority is also assessing the potential of undergrounding portions of Feeders 9A and 10A. The undergrounding will include critical facilities such as Crown Bay Marina, the shipping companies in Crown Bay, the Port Authority's Sandfill, the Department of Public Works, and the potable water standpipe in Subbase. Over on St. John, work continued in the Cruz Bay area, with crews planting new poles from the roundabout towards the Myra Keating Smith Community Health Clinic. In the two island districts, power plant operations are returning to normal, with personnel expected to resume work on projects that were underway prior to the passage of Hurricane Irma on September 6th. Presently at the Harley Power Plant on St. Thomas, 2 units are online, with another available, while on St. Croix at the Estate Richmond Power Plant there is 1 unit online and another available. WAPA continues to work jointly with VIA, with the Department of Public Works and the VI Waste Management Authority on a joint cleanup initiative across the territory. Customers are reminded of their responsibility to ensure their meter base and weatherhead are ready to have electrical service restored following the hurricanes. The Water and Power Authority is not responsible for and cannot carry out repairs to weatherheads and to meter bases.
Thanks for that update, John. Now, high school seniors of the Dorican High School and the Sheldon Mali High School, they met today at the CAHS Auditorium. Department of Education's Commissioner McCollum invited parents to attend a very important mandatory meeting for the students regarding the school schedule and more. In other news, Puerto Rico is facing huge logistical hurdles and getting aids to its people. There are more than 10,000 shipping containers sitting at the port of San Juan filled with food, fuel, construction materials, and more that are not now being distributed, due in part to the severe damage to roads and bridges throughout the island. Steve Nanes has the very latest from Puerto Rico.
We need to move heaven and earth and do everything we can to assist the people who are suffering.
More than a week after Hurricane Maria ravaged Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, there are more calls and complaints in Washington to deal with the devastation.
At its core, today, the short-term challenge in Puerto Rico is a logistical one. The supply chain, the logistical chain on the island is broken.
This administration's response has been inexcusably slow and ineffective.
Wednesday, the Trump administration announcing it has waived the Jones Act, making it possible for non-U.S. ships to bring in supplies.
The relief effort is under control. It is proceeding very well, considering the devastation that took place.
And appointing Lieutenant General Jeffrey Buchanan to try and get that broken supply chain moving, but acknowledging the process is slow going.
Listen, we're not going to be able to move as fast as everybody would like us or as I would like. But we are pushing everything that we have. The entire workforce of the federal governments, of the agencies represented, are working tirelessly around the clock to alleviate this situation.
Meanwhile, in Puerto Rico, growing frustration over the thousands of shipping containers stuck at the port of San Juan.
There's a person in need of medicine. That right now, babies, children don't have a bottle of water. And it's here.
I'm Steve Nanis reporting.
Well, stick around. We have much more straight ahead. The Lieutenant Governor has some insurance information for you coming up. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Via's customers are reminded that the public should report down lines and stay away from them. Cut-in lines will hold up the restoration process as the company hopes to complete its repairs soon. Here's more on the restoration process from the CEO.
Good evening. I'm very happy to be in everybody's home. Me and our 400 employees from Via are working hard to get all this network back up. So far, we have put over 26 hotspots around the islands. We have 2 in St. John, in Pastori, and in Cruz Bay. We have in St. Thomas, everywhere, from the airport all the way to the east to Red Hook. We also cover Heavenside, we cover Tutu Park, we cover GRS, where the government building is, retirement plan building is, right next to it, the baseball park. And besides that, in St. Croix, we're having all the Plaza East, Plaza West. We're going to have today Government House, Baitima, and Gallows Bay. We have a brand new Ericsson network. It's going to be LTE, and it's going to be able to provide service to all of you. That network, we were supposed to launch it later this year, but we advanced all the plans in order to give you better service now. We're going to have 40 cell sites. It's going to cover the 3 islands, and it's going to make it a lot better, the communications, after next week. Hopefully by Monday, we're going to have, out of those 40 sites, about 30 are going to be up. The only area that we still have that we're struggling is in St. John. We sent a couple of small sites over there that are going to be working independent, and we're going to be distributing phones for everybody over there to be able to use it. Hopefully, working with you together, trying not to cut any of the power lines, not to cut any of the fiber optic. We're going to work together, and we're going to start working with WAPA to start giving HFC service, and everything has to do with cable and voice at home. Please, your voice service at home is affected because of the poles went down. It has nothing to do with the batteries. But if you come to our office, we can get you a wireless phone, a cellular phone, and we will forward one number to the other, so that way you can solve all your communication needs. We're very happy to have all our people safe, and we welcome you to come to our store and try to find solutions for you.
Well, meanwhile, yesterday afternoon, Via announced there are 7 free Wi-Fi hotspots throughout the island of St. Croix, and they are Plaza Extra West, Plaza Extra East, Government House, Baitima's Emergency Operations Center, David C. Canegata Ballpark, and the American Red Cross, as well as Costules. Creating hotspots requires the field crew to first check that there is good signal on the line. After establishing the signal strength, a drop is run to the location at a good spot, meaning there are no obstructions, no solid walls, steel beams, solid doors, or microwave ovens. The line is installed into an EMTA box that is configured to emit a Wi-Fi signal that can spread. At the Canegata site, the signal spreads over 200 feet from the EMTA box. It was estimated over 300 people will use this particular hotspot. Log on for free Viafi_free_access. Hotspots are open to the public and not only for Via customer use. And Via is a parent company of NEWS2. As St. Croix residents begin the long road to restoration and recovery, the shelters will continue to play an important role for the community. There are many people and agencies to thank, according to Malik Stradiron, Red Cross manager for the Canegata shelter, including the VIPD, St. Croix senators, and first responders, the media, the local community. Here's more.
I'd also like to say that if you don't have a place to stay, you're still going through flooding in your homes, you know, that you're not safe, you don't feel secure, you're a diabetic, you need your insulin, cold, you can come to any of the 3 shelters that's on St. Croix, the recreational center in Christiansted. In the middle of the island, there's Herbert Gregg, and then there's the educational complex. I'd really like to tell you all also that if you need to get your cell phone charged, we do have a generator to each shelter, so you can get your cell phones charged. Come to the shelter, you could drop the phone off, pick it back up, and we'll try to keep it as charged as much as possible. I would also like to thank Ms. Dowdy, the Commissioner for Tourism as well, for getting these Mercy flights and the Mercy cruises out. And without that, I honestly feel a lot of the community people who are already stressed out that needed to leave. I mean, people listening and watching in, but they're not here. This is a stressful time. And if you got children and you're worried about them going to school and, relocating because your job is no longer available or you don't have any place to stay, and we're already done struggling with getting money and the internet, everything is getting rapidly back up. This is very important for us, so we'd like to thank the Commissioner, and I would like to personally also thank the Commissioner of Human Services, Ms. Blyden, and the Assistant Commissioner, Ms. Powell, for doing an excellent job in leading the shelters as the leading agency for the ESF 6, and of course, for my staff and everybody for the American Red Cross for being dedicated workers.
Well, we caught up with Lieutenant Governor Osbert Potter, who serves as the territory's Commissioner of Insurance. He shared some information about property taxes, filing a claim, what the process is, what documents are necessary, and more.
Now, with the whole insurance business, it comes down to what kind of damage you got versus what kind of coverage you got, okay? And in determining what kind of payout will be given to you, it's a combination of the replacement value of your home versus how much you insured your home for. Because your house was totally damaged or you had serious damage, it doesn't mean automatically that you're going to get a check for the full replacement value. And that's where people need to get a good understanding of. When you purchase the insurance policy, you purchase it for a certain amount of value. So if your home, for example, is valued at $200,000, normally they say 80% of coverage on the value of your house represents full coverage. So we make it even simpler. If your house is valued at $100,000 and you cover it for $80,000 worth of insurance coverage, you are deemed to have full coverage on your home, and you are deemed to be fully insured. You then have the option of buying insurance for $80,000 or less amount of coverage. And how much coverage you purchase will ultimately determine what type of check you get from the insurance company to take care of your damaged property. In the Office of the Lieutenant Governor, Division of Banking and Insurance, we are going to make sure that you, the homeowner, are not cheated in any way, shape, or form by any insurance company, or are not shortchanged. Let me not use cheated. Let's say shortchanged by any of the insurance companies. Any questions you have, any concerns you have, that's what the Division of Banking and Insurance in the Office of the Lieutenant Governor is there for, to make sure that everything is straightforward and up to date.
And we will have more from the Lieutenant Governor in a future newscast. The American Red Cross, they're busy out there. They're a humanitarian organization led by volunteers. The nonprofit provides relief to victims of disaster and help people prevent, prepare for, and respond to emergencies. Now, their offices are located in Castle Coakley, St. Croix, and Niski Center, St. Thomas. Here's details.
We've been working tirelessly since before Hurricane Irma hit, and then have been working even harder since Hurricane Maria. So we've had a tremendous amount of volunteers and our other staff members from not only here, we have our USVI Red Cross volunteers and community stakeholders, as well as people from all around the nation who've come here to St. Thomas and St. Croix and St. John to try to relieve the human suffering that's going on in this community. And we've been doing that by an outpouring of donations that we've been transferring to families that are, really the most vulnerable. So every day we've been out in the community with our vans, dropping off cases of water to families, as well as cleaning supplies, including bleach and mops and buckets and gloves and sponges, to try to at least provide a little bit of lift for those families that are really suffering right now. And our bulk distribution plan is really really in 3 phases. So this is the kind of the emergency phase, and then over the next week or so, we're going to start delivering what we're calling VITA kits, Virgin Island Disaster Assistance Kits. And in those kits, we'll have some food packages, we'll have some hand sanitizing wipes, we'll have some other supplies, critical supplies, flashlights, and things like that that the community will need.
Today, my task was to deliver critical items to St. John, which was cleanup kits and water. I'm one of the local volunteers here from the local chapter, and I've been with the Red Cross for this storm since Irma. I was one of the volunteers. I was at the EBO shelter, and I've been here since Irma till now, which is about going on 4 weeks. Still going, still pushing, still assisting all the other people that came from away to make sure, they get what they need done on a daily basis due to communication challenges and different challenges. But I'm here to make sure everything is going smoothly from my end and anybody else that needs help.
Well, the flash flood watch is in effect through late Sunday night. The National Weather Service in San Juan has issued that flash flood for portions of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. They say an upper-level trough will increase the chance for showers and thunderstorm activity. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next with details.
When we look at the big picture across the whole western Atlantic, you can see Tropical Storm Maria, Tropical Storm Lee, and good riddance to Maria as it moves across the North Atlantic. We're dealing with some of our own showers and storms in the area of the Virgin Islands now, but they are far more tolerable than what we faced in recent weeks with our recent bouts with the nasty tropical storms and hurricanes in the area. Maria was more than enough for us, and you can see that there are some showers and storms in the area. Most of them are generally to the northeast, the largest cluster of them, but we still need to keep a close eye on them. Satellite estimated rainfall, really this is our best bet since the radar in San Juan has been destroyed by the hurricane. This is based on the satellite. It's raining mainly off to our east, some to our south. A couple of showers will be out there tonight. They don't look terribly widespread. St. John, 84 with a shower or two. Doesn't look too long lasting, though. Most of the day will feature more dry hours than wet. Could be a passing shower or two into St. Thomas tomorrow. Not a bad Saturday. And then down to the south into St. Croix, a few showers with us. Will be in the mid-80s for highs. Taking a look at the marine forecast, the greatest rip current risk is going to be on the eastern side of St. Croix, so just be aware of that. Waves are 3 to 6 feet, wind about 10 to 15 knots from the east. Onto the Caribbean side, we still have the eastern St. Croix concerns, rip currents, and waves 3 to 6 feet still, and wind also 10 to 15 knots. A similar forecast for both sides, north and south. 5-day forecast features the brief showers. None of this looks terribly widespread. The good news is that we don't have any really menacing tropical threats at this point. We're keeping an eye on a disturbance near Florida, but that's going to stay in the southeastern part of the mainland U.S., and therefore we are going to be keeping our hands clean from that. Highs will be in the mid-80s, warming up into the upper 80s, borderline upper 80s by Tuesday, lows in the upper 70s. Not a bad weekend. Sandy, back to you.
Thanks for that. Time for our news weather picture there by Mackay Francis of the Great Minds Summer Learning Academy, giving us some great news weather picture to the address right there on the screen. And be sure to tune in to